getting an applause before I even said anything. It's brilliant. Anyway, so this is a great turnout. I'm really surprised. I literally thought nobody would show up. So well done, right from the start. Awesome. Now, today we're going to do something slightly different because when Elaine emailed me and asked me whether I wanted to do something, I kind of thought, you know, I like those sessions where we learn something. And so I thought that would be, rather than just telling you what I do, I'm just going to teach you how I do what I do. Does that make sense? Awesome. So the project 3 Heads in a Row, I'm just going to, in like very few words, I'm just going to tell you how that came about. Basically, about 2 years ago, does this work? Yay. Okay, actually, no, I'm going to tell you this in a second because I'm just going to tell you what we're actually going to be doing. So we're going to look at the shooting part in the first half, where I'm going to say a few things about the gear that I'm using, you know, camera setting, lighting, communication with the model. I think that's really something that when I see portrait photographers shooting portraits, there's, in my view, this is just me thinking that, I very rarely see good communication with the model. We're always concerned about how we light the model, how we pose the model, like where's the arm, where are the legs, blah, blah, where's the body, all that kind of stuff. But nobody actually ever really thinks about the expression. And that's really something we're going to dive into today. So that's communication. We're also going to talk a little bit about tethering, because that's important, and image selection as well, because we need to do that at the end. Okay, and then the second half, I'm going to do a live edit. So we're going to take this whole thing from the very beginning, from the very start, to the finished article in the end. Typically, I'll be shooting 3 images. Of course, tonight, because of time constraints, I'll be lucky if I get 1 done. I'll be honest with you. But you'll hopefully end up with a really good understanding of the process. And I'll urge you all to take some of the things that you hear about tonight and try and integrate them into your own photography when you're in a position where you're shooting another human being. Okay? So in the live edit, I'm going to talk a little bit about the actual workflow, some editing techniques. Of course, we're going to go through them as I edit them live. We're going to talk about Lightroom and Photoshop a little bit because these are the 2 software packages or editing packages that I use. And then what that's really going to end up doing is it's going to give us the look. Because through the editing process, through the post-production process, I'm going to create the 3 heads in a row. I've really forgotten what it's called. So, I'm going to create the 3 heads in a row look. So it's actually sort of a combination of the shooting part and the editing part. And what you'll see is when I shoot the thing, I already know how I'm going to edit it, and that's going to inform some of the decisions that I make during the shooting process. So these 2 things, the shoot and the editing part, the post-production, they're not 2 separate things. One has an impact and an influence on the other. Does that make sense? Because it's one whole thing. Okay, cool. Right, so 3 heads in a row. So a couple of years ago, I had to create some kind of self-portrait for the About page on my website. Because the photo that I had on there wasn't particularly good, and I kind of thought, since it's a photography website, I better, put some effort into the thing. And so I was thinking up different looks, and and I thought that it would be cool to do something like this. So that's what I came up with. That was the idea, but what actually happened was that. So I was essentially photographing myself. So I had to basically have the camera on, I had to use a remote control, and so, I had the remote control on like a 2-second delay, and I would press the button, then I would throw the remote away, I would pose, and then the thing would fire, I'd look at the screen, and it'd be horrible. And then I'd try again, and I'll just try again, and about 2 hours later, I had something, that was usable. But whilst I was doing that, things went a little bit wrong. And that's the result of that. So what actually happened was I pressed the button, and I somehow didn't get the 2 seconds right. And as I was mid-move, mid-posing basically, the thing fired, it took the picture, and that's the result. And when I saw that, I kind of thought, that's actually, I thought that was funny, right? So I kind of thought, this got something. It's not usable for my website, obviously, because that would just be weird. I would never get any clients that way. Although I'd be interested to see what kind of clients I would actually get. But but I thought, there's something in this, and And then I thought, well, I kept thinking about it, and I thought, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if I took 3 objects and I would basically sort of handle these objects in the photo. And then I kind of thought, yeah, wouldn't it be even cooler if I shot somebody else, like another human being, if I can find somebody who's brave enough to, to subject themselves to that kind of treatment. And actually, we have a couple of people in the room who have been, well, actually, we have 1, 2, 4 people in the room who've been through the process. By the way, actually, before I continue, let me just quickly introduce the 2 people that were kind enough to help me out today. We've got my co-conspirator, Nick Kirby, over there. Big round of applause. You may recognize the face and the dulcet tones of his voice from the Camera Shack podcast. And then we have none other than Dave Williams, Arctic explorer and travel photographer, right, back from the Arctic, I guess? Pretty much. Iceland, the Arctic Circle. He literally has just come back into the country, so, I picked him up. But he's so thanks, guys. Okay, anyway, so, okay. Now, so I thought about using, shooting somebody else, and I kind of thought, so since I'm shooting 3 images, why don't I get people to handle 3 different objects? And then I kind of thought, wouldn't it be cool if I get people to bring objects that mean something to them, something that has a special meaning. It might be an heirloom, it might be something that sort of signifies what they do as a job, a special interest, something that's dear to their heart. And then I thought, because if I photograph them and I photograph them handling this object that means a lot to them, I can create another dimension to the image, because you'll learn something by looking at 3 images and seeing how people interact with the objects that they've chosen. That will tell us something about that person. Does that make sense? We get an idea as to what that person is like, maybe what their profession is. I'm shooting 3 images. It's a triptych. Instagram has, sort of displays 3 images on the grid and in one row. And so that very naturally turned into 3 heads in a row, because that's really what it is. It's 3 heads in a row. And by sheer coincidence, 3 heads in a row was actually available as an account name on Instagram, so that kind of helped. So, and that is what that turned into. So if you are on Instagram, do me a favor, and just throw me a solid. Head over to 3 heads in a row on Instagram and like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. That'd be cool. Anyway, so since then, virtually almost everyone I know has become a victim of my photographic endeavors. My daughter, my daughters, my wife, my friends, people that I know and people that I didn't know. And the thing about that is, it's not easy to photograph. Well, let's put it this way: it's a lot easier to photograph somebody you know than to photograph somebody you don't know, because it's all about the connection. Okay. In this case, it's all about expression. I'm going to tell you in a second, I'm going to talk about the lighting that I use and the camera settings and all that. All of that's fine and dandy, but this is not what this is about. This is all about expressions. That's the thing with this sort of portrait. Does that make sense? Okay, by the way, again, if you have a question, just interrupt me. Actually, throughout the whole process, even when we're shooting, just ask. Somebody said to me, like, a little while ago, they're all lit the same. It's like, yeah, that's the point. I mean, the lighting isn't the important thing. Of course, I thought about this when I created the look in the beginning. Of course I did. But since then, I have not thought about this one more time, because I've dialed it in, I know what I'm doing, it's, that's all cool. But it's not about that, it's about the expressions. And with this sort of portraiture, it's about pushing people past what they would naturally be comfortable with. And in order to do that, you have to build a connection with your subject and create a level of trust so they trust you to take them that far. So this isn't just like where you stand there, move your arm here, turn your head this way, lift your chin up, click, done. That's not what it is. Because you cannot get these expressions, especially if you don't know. I mean, if somebody sees me for the first time, they walk into my studio and and I do that with them, it's really difficult to get them to that point. So I need to connect with them. It takes time. Time is the magic ingredient. And so this is why typically these sort of sessions would take a couple of hours roughly, because after an hour, we're getting to the good stuff. Does that make sense? Yeah? Cool. All right. Okay, so, and just as a little side note, about a year ago or something, we actually did a podcast episode, which is on YouTube, that also takes you through the whole editing process. So if you want to sort of revisit any of the things that I'm talking about tonight, you can just head over to the Camera Shake podcast or youtube.com/Camera Shake, little plug, and check out episode 47. That's where I'll take you through the whole process. And actually, in fact, this is a little shootout that we did with Ivan Weiss and Nick Kirby, the three of us in lockdown, and we did a little photo project, if you want, a little photo competition. And I don't know, it's a great episode because Ivan takes you through his editing process, Nick takes you to his, and then there's me doing that. So it's a great little resource. Once you're there, just like and subscribe and all the rest of it, obviously. Anyway, cool. Let's talk about super quick. Let's just talk about some of the lights and stuff. So I'm using 2 lights by Interfit. They're identical. They're called Honey Badger Unleashed. They're basically battery-operated lights, so I can take them anywhere. I use them on location all the time. They're super awesome. The batteries in there last absolutely forever. They're actually relatively powerful, unless you're trying to overpower the sun. But when was the last time you had to do that, realistically? And on top of that, I use a beauty dish. Now, that being said, when I first started shooting this, I shot that with speed lights and a fold-up softbox. So you don't have to own studio strobes to do this. If you have 2 really cheap Yongnuo, whatever, speed lights, you can absolutely do that. That's how I used to do it for really a very long time, actually, in the beginning, before I moved over to this. And I experimented with different modifiers. I originally shot this with a square softbox, then I moved on to an octabox. But anybody who's ever been to my little studio, you know how, limited in space it is. And so I needed something that actually isn't as deep as an octabox, so that I have a little bit more space. And so I moved on to a beauty dish with a diffusion sock. So do you guys know what a beauty dish is? Yeah? It's basically like a bowl that's white inside, and it's got a little reflector in there, and the light fires into the reflector, that pushes the light back into the bowl, and that then pushes it forward onto the subject. And if you want to diffuse it a little bit, you can use this diffusion sock, which is just a thing that goes over the top, super cheap, and it's made from metal. Should have thought of that. And it gives you a really crisp, really sort of crisper shadows than a softbox. The differences are minute, and if you do look through the Instagram account, you can, if you look really closely, you can see how it changes over time just a little bit. That's just dialing in the look over a certain amount of time. Anyway, but I like this at the moment, which is why I brought that. Okay, so the other thing we have is a backdrop, which is this thing here. I'm just going to move this forward. It's a black backdrop, and we've got our key light over here. That's obviously going to light our subject, and then we've got a background light there that is going to create a little sort of halo around our subject on the backdrop. And there's a very specific reason as to why I want to achieve that, and I'll talk about it when we're actually shooting. And that's really it. Oh, and then of course one of the most important parts is this board. This used to be a shelf in the music cupboard at High Wycombe Music Center. The shelf broke. I looked at the thing and I went I'm taking this home. And this piece of wood has, it's the main backdrop for all the thumbnails on a particular music-related YouTube channel. I've used it for so many, top-down product shoots and all sorts of different things. I've shot the hell out of this thing. I absolutely love it. And this is really imitating the table, because when you look at the actual, so it looks like these people sit at a table. They don't. They sit at this board. That's it. Which also means I can take this anywhere, by the way. So I can do this anywhere. And I've actually shot this in lots of different locations. The look is pretty much always the same, so you would never know. But I've shot this outside. I've shot it at home. I've taken it out. We're shooting out here. This really just gives me the flexibility to take this anywhere. So it's just a piece of wood. That's it. B&Q.
How much is that light?
This one? That's a very good question. I have no idea. Maybe 350, well, probably about the 350 pound range, I guess. That's another really good question. I think it's about 275. Something, yeah. I mean, it'll do most things. You know, it's the reality. Cool. So that's it. And then I'm using a C stand just because I need to boom it over. And I always shoot tethered, and that means whatever I shoot will pop up on the screen pretty much immediately, or once I've shot it. That is important because we need to give the subject some kind of feedback so they can see what the camera sees, and then therefore they can adjust their facial expression and their posing and all that kind of stuff. So that's basically how that works. These lights are radio controlled with this thing. Super simple. One last thing before we actually start shooting. I'm using a lens that's not really a typical portrait lens. So I'm using a 24-70, which you rarely see in a portrait context. The reason why I use that is because I use it at the wide end. So I'm shooting anywhere between 24 to about 30 mil. Again, you don't usually do that because at that focal length, you get a lot of distortion. And typically that's exactly not what you want of a portrait, because you don't want somebody's features to be distorted. In this case, that's exactly what I want, because I want it to look slightly comical. Does that make sense? So I'm just kind of pushing reality a little bit, and that's why I'm making that choice as far as the focal length is concerned. That's pretty much it. Okay, so any questions at this point? Awesome, cool. Wicked, all right, cool. So I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll get Nick to sit over here. And
these are $2.99, by the way, just have a quick look.
Oh, okay, cool. But again, remember that you can absolutely shoot this with speed lights. There's absolutely no reason why you should go out and buy studio strips. Just two speed lights, that's it, yeah. So, all right, cool. So we should, yeah, all right. Okay, so our goal really here is really we just want to create one picture that I can then edit in the second half. So we've got Nick over here. Obviously, we know each other, so this isn't like, it's really a little bit different. Typically, what happens is, I'd say probably whatever happens in the first 45 minutes is usually totally unusable if you don't know the person. You just have to you use that time to get somebody used to being in this totally unnatural situation. Nobody is used to having, studio strobes hammering a whole bunch of light into their face, with somebody with a massive lens sitting in front of them. That's not a natural situation. Anybody would be nervous, and in order to take that nervousness, we just need to subject that person to the situation for a certain amount of time, okay? And over time, as we start conversation and we talk about this and that and the other, they'll lose the nerves, and that's the point where I can start pushing their expression past the line. Does that make sense? So again, in portrait photography, that's a really important issue, and I don't think when we do courses or something, I don't really necessarily think that's talked about enough. I really do think that the connection with your subject is the most important thing in a portrait situation. All right, cool. So,
Kirsten, do you want me to cover the lens while you take the photo?
It's fine.
Fine.
That won't matter, I hope, because so the way I shoot this is let's talk about the camera settings real quick. I've mentioned the focal length. I'm shooting relatively wide at about anywhere between 24 and 30, roughly, give or take. The shutter speed. Actually, the aperture is 7.2. That gives me enough depth of field at this distance to basically be sharp anywhere from just in front of the subject to sort of the back of the head. That's what I want. Sometimes when somebody handles an object, they might come forward a little bit and I might lose the sharpness there. Do I care? Nope, because it's not about the object. It's about the eyes, it's about the face and the expression. I don't care whether the thing that they're handling is ever so slightly soft. I couldn't care less, because that's not what it's about. So I found, just for me, 7.2 is the aperture that just simply works for me. Anyway, but I'm shooting this at a shutter speed of 200 because that is the flash sync speed. And what that means is that's the maximum, the fastest shutter speed that I can use in order for my camera shutter to sync with my strobes. And that'll be the same for most cameras. It's typically anywhere between 160 and 250, depending on what brand you use and model you use and all the rest of it. But at 200, and I'm just going to actually prove the point for a minute. Let's turn this off for a second. Okay, I was going to shoot. Okay. Friend, okay, what can you see on the screen? Absolutely nothing, because the shutter speed is so high that it actually cancels out all the ambient light, and we end up with a pretty black image. That's exactly what I want, because I want to control the light. The only light that I want to have in my shot is what I'm creating here with the key light and my background light. I don't want any other. And also my studio space is really annoying because I've got like a skylight, and when it's like in the summer, the sun sits like right on top of my house and I get this idiotic beam of light coming into my shooting space, which is super annoying. And for some reason in 2 years or something, I still haven't been able to get a blind for it. I don't know why. Anyway, so 200, whatever the maximum sync speed is for your camera, that should usually do the trick. If that's still not enough, you can crank the aperture up, go from 7.2 to 8 or to 9 or to whatever, until you're at the point where your frame is pretty much black and Bob's your uncle, okay? So I'm going to turn, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn on only the background light. I'm only using the background light, and what you should see is just this little aura around the head and the top of the shoulders. That's all we want. Yeah. But you got quiff. What's happened there?
I'm sorry, I have hair still.
Okay, sure. Let's bring this up like. Yeah, so. Okay, cool. All right. These are the slight adjustments you have to make depending on how tall your model is and all the rest of it. That's normal. Okay. But anyway, so what we've got is we've got a little bit of light to separate our subject from the background. There's a reason for that, which will become very obvious when we get to the editing stage, by the way. So now I'm going to turn on the key light, which is my main light. What we should actually get is swing. I did. Way cool. And that's Nick. All right, cool. So it does work. It's maybe a little bit difficult to see on the screen there, but I don't know if you can see this. So what we've got is, we've got Nick, he's reasonably lit. That's pretty cool. We've got enough separation. I don't really, of course, the hair color really plays a role. If somebody's got lighter hair, like they're blonde, of course it'll separate a little bit better on the top. That to me isn't necessarily really an issue because I'm going to blend that in later anyway. So I'm actually quite happy with that. Typically, that light is a little bit too far to the left. For now, I'm just not going to care actually. Otherwise, I'll be like jiggling this around for a while. But anyway, so Nick's chosen an object, and just Nick, tell us real quick why you chose that particular object.
This is actually a microphone, believe it or not. So I'm actually a recording engineer as well, and so I've picked up random knickknacks like that over the years. And this is just one that I particularly liked. I found it in some, I think it was a charity shop. And I just love the look of it. It's some old radio mic from 80, 90, 100 years ago, something like that. I just love the look of it. And I just thought it might look quite nice tonight.
Yeah. Total conversation starter. That's the beauty of letting your subject choose their own object. You immediately have something that you can start talking about. We're not talking about posing, anything like that. We spend the first few minutes just talking about what the objects are, why they've chosen those, the background story, why they mean something to them, all that kind of stuff. We're building a connection. That's what's happening. This would typically take. I've known Nick for a very long time, obviously, but that would normally take a good 10 minutes or something like that. We'll look at the three objects that I've chosen. Maybe I grab them, I handle them a little bit, I have a look at them, I ask lots of questions, that sort of thing. Like, why did you, what does that mean to you, He's a recording engineer. Oh, that's interesting. Really? So do you work in a studio? Is that what you do? Cool. Have you worked with anybody famous? You jack these conversations out of them. Before you know it, you've got two human beings involved in a conversation and we're getting to know each other. And I'm building up trust. Does that make sense? It's common sense. If you think about it, it's no magic. Right, so let's just assume we've done that. Okay, we're gonna start shooting, and I'm basically gonna say, okay, so what's gonna happen is that light's gonna fire. Whatever I shoot is gonna come through on the camera. And by the way, so tethering, right? In the olden days, we used the cable to connect the camera to the computer so that it transmits the picture or the image, and the image pops up there. Tether Tools, which is probably the industry-leading company that make these tether tools, have come out with a radio transmitter receiver type of thing, which I highly recommend. It's expensive as hell, but it's totally worth it because I don't know how many times I've ripped that cable out of my camera. It's stupid. And if you wonder why these cables, these tether tool cables, are orange and are horrendously overpriced, but everybody in the industry uses them, it's because if they were black, we would never bloody see them in the studio, right? Orange cables, master stroke. Okay, so what we'll do now is I'm gonna start shooting, and I'm gonna get Nick used to this whole idea of getting flashed, basically. All right? That's what I'm saying. All right, cool.
I'm going to tell you all now, I hate doing this side of the camera, by the way.
Okay. All right, Nick. So if you look in front of you, you can see a little mark on the board, which is approximately here.
Yep.
Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to stay behind that mark.
Yep.
So when you're holding your object, your microphone, just stay behind that mark. Okay. Because if you come past that little mark, it's a little schmutz thing on there, then it'll most likely be out of frame, and I want to keep everything in the frame. Okay, so nature has provided me with a perfectly placed mark on this board, which is why I like this board so much. Anyway, here we go. Ready? Okay, cool. Now what I want you to do is look straight at the camera for me, straight down the lens. There you go. Excellent. Okay, cool. See the thing that you did with your eyebrow there, when you went like this, I want you to do that again. Do you think you can do that again?
That's good.
Yeah, brilliant. Let's do it again. Cool. All right, here we go. Ready? Excellent. Okay, cool. This type of portrait, it's all about the eyes. Expression lives in the eyes. It lives in the eyes, it lives in the mouth, and so we need to get our subject to over accentuate the eyes. So I'm gonna have to get Nick to give me some really super awesomely huge eyes. Totally natural, as you can tell, obviously. Right. So I mean, we would be like, I don't know, 45 minutes into the shoot by this point. Okay, Nick, what I want you to do is look straight into the camera, and I want you to give me some really big eyes like that. That's it. Okay, let's do that. Right, ready? Mm-hmm. Really big eyes. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Awesome. All right. Brilliant.
You asked for it.
I know. Great. Now, here's another thing. Why am I so animated? It's because I'm demonstrating, I'm the mirror to the subject. I don't want to talk too much, although I seem to talk a lot. But I want to give the subject a very clear visual cue as to what I'm talking about. But I also want to make the subject feel okay with being a little over the top. Because if I'm a little over the top, it's easier for them to be a little over the top. If I did this differently, right? I'll give you an example. Right, Nick, can you, like, you know, when I take the photo, you just like do like really big eyes. Is that cool? All right, let's do that. Cool, here we go. Awesome. That is never gonna work. Ever. Perfect example. Okay? So it's never gonna work. I mean, you know, so really I need to be on the same level with the subject. So if I'm like, right, Nick, okay, I'm gonna, on the next shot, the other thing you did with your eyes, which was awesome, I want you to just open your eyes as wide as you can, give me some huge eyes, ready? Like this.
Pop out.
Pop out eyes, here we go, ready? All right, you ready? Go, 3, 2, 1. Sweet, okay. Perfect.
Oddly, that's my classic kind of.
All right, cool. So what we'll do now is, the other thing is the mouth. The mouth is really important. Again, it's the other facial feature that gives us a lot of expression. So, and again, it takes a little while to build up to that. But one of the things I use a lot is the silent scream. Okay, so Nick, just imagine you're screaming from the top of your lungs, but you're not making any sound. Okay, like that. Are you ready?
I need to make the sound of that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's go. Ready? Here you go. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, brilliant. Brilliant. However, the eyes are really small now. Is this a natural thing? When you scream, you open your mouth very wide, your eyes close up. Totally natural, everybody does it. I don't want that. I want wide eyes and I want a wide mouth. So I need to instruct the subject to do exactly that. If I don't say it, they'll never know, right? Okay, so awesome. Now what I want to do is I want to get exactly that, but I also want the super wide eyes. Okay, right, ready?
This is like sneezing with your eye.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, right. Okay, here you go. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Perfect. Wicked. Okay, cool. I love the face. The face is cool. I can work with that. Of course, what's happening down here is we're going to have to address that in a second. Nick's obviously not really thinking about the object, but he's an audio engineer. He's got a microphone. He's screaming. I mean, you're screaming to the mic, right? I mean, that's what you do. So that makes perfect sense. So let's do that. So we'll do a similar thing, but now I want you to literally, pick up the mic and scream into the mic, right? So you're going to pick it up off the ground a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Go over here. Good. Ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Excellent. Okay. Okay, much better. Now there's action. We've got a wide mouth. We've got relatively wide eyes. I think we can work on that a little bit. But what's missing here is the connection with the audience, with the viewer. He's looking at the mic. As soon as you're not looking at the lens, you're breaking the connection with whoever looks at that photo. We need to have the eyes on the lens for exactly that. So we'll do the same thing. Okay, we're going to scream into the mic and wide eyes. You can have your head slightly angled, but I want you to keep your pupils, your eyes on the camera, right? Ready? Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Excellent. Okay, here we go. Cool. Awesome. Okay, cool. We're getting there. We're slowly getting there. So I like it. What I don't like is I don't like the fact that this mic is breaking with the line of the face there a little bit. I want to get that away from the edge of the chin, whatever you call that. It's not a double chin actually. It's pretty good. I'm impressed.
I've heard far worse from that.
Yeah. Anyway. Right, cool. So we'll do the same thing. And now just angle the mic a little bit for me and keep it a little lower. Okay? Okay, you ready? Bring it in a little bit because at the moment it's, yeah, that's perfect. Right, here you go. Okay. Right, ready? It's the same thing. Keep your eyes on the camera. Big mouth, big eyes. Here you go. 3, 2, 1, go. Excellent. That's right. Let's see. Hey, I like it. All right, cool. Okay. I kind of like it. I don't love the 2 hands on the mic. I'll get him to keep one hand on the table maybe. Also, I would actually like the face to face the camera a little bit more. I think he's a little far off to the side. So I'm just going to correct all these things and we'll see. All right, you ready? That's it. Okay, cool. Put your hands flat on the table like that. Yeah, that's it. Go. Bring the mic down just a touch. Over to, yeah, that's it. Perfect. You got it. Okay, and then can you grab the mic like this? So it's like, yeah, like that. That's it. Cool. All right. Okay, bring it over just a touch.
It's quite difficult to grab.
Yeah. Okay, over just a touch. Cool, bring it down just a little bit. Okay, cool, here we go. I'll bring it over just a little bit more. All right, cool. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Excellent, all right, cool. That's a keeper. Let's keep that. Showing. Okay, we're gonna keep that. I like it. It's cool, I like the microphone, the hand's cool. I like the eyes, he's looking at the camera. He's like, the mouth is a big expression. There's lots of different things you could do, obviously. But for now, for our intents and purposes, I think that's pretty good. And it's also pretty sharp. Good news, right? It's in focus. What else do we want? I mean, yeah, that's it. Right, cool. So we're going to keep that. Okay, so next I'm going to get Dave over here to sit in. So Dave, if you...
I'm going to remain.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I didn't mention this. All right, so This really is only show. No, it's not. What happens is when we work with one key light, especially in this what's called a beauty light configuration, we're having lights hitting the subject from above. And what it does is it creates shadows under the nose, inside of the eye cavities, and under the chin. And let's say if this was a black table, you would really see these shadows being really accentuated because light doesn't get under the eye sockets. Does that make sense? And under the chin. So we're going to have to just bounce a little bit of light back under there. I don't want a lot. I don't want this to be evenly lit because that's sort of missing the point. Shadows are important. Shadows create shape and they create three-dimensionality in a portrait, or actually in any image. You know, landscape photographers know that. You don't want to shoot landscapes in the middle of the day when the sun's super high. It looks terrible. Like if you shoot it later on in the afternoon, you've got longer shadows, there's just more texture, there's more depth. It just really lends itself, or early in the morning if you can get yourself out of bed, which I can never do. You know, this is why I love shooting concerts, by the way, and I always say this, like I have no problem shooting a gig until 4 o'clock in the morning. I have a real problem getting my butt out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, traipse into some field, you know, staring at a tree and waiting for the sun to come up. I just can't do it. It's heaven for you. Brilliant. Much respect, by the way, if you can get yourself out of bed, that's really great. But for me, it's just not happening. Content creation is what I call it. Yeah.
TikTok.
Right.
Are you doing a quick one about that or not?
No, we're just going to do that. Right, so basically all this does is it'll just push a little bit of light back under the chin, under the eye sockets, and under the nose. By the way, actually, very little thing, and you can't really see.
I've got a prop for you.
I'm going to play.
But it'll amuse me.
Stars, is it Kirsten, the stars where I put my...
Yeah, exactly.
Every star.
Hey, that's it.
Look at that.
You got tune. All right, maybe we can sort of see and hear maybe a little bit. So we've got the light coming from above. If you look right under the nose here, you see a little shadow. What we're trying to achieve is we're trying to keep that shadow relatively small. If the angle of the light isn't right, that shadow will grow and make contact with the upper lip. And then you know that your light's in the wrong position. So you want to bring it forward a tiny little bit. So the light is above, but it's kind of angled at like a 45-degree angle, roughly, give or take. And that's going to get you there. And you literally look at the shadow under the nose, and you adjust accordingly. So sometimes it depends on the kind of portrait style. You might like, in fact, the light's up here. If I look at you right now, I can see that shadow making contact with your lip. That light is too high up. If I were to photograph you right now, I would bring that light down and I would point it slightly forward. And what would happen is that shadow would just move up towards the underside of your nose. And then that's what we would typically want, right? So that's called beauty lighting. This actually, when we have another light source, in this case a reflector, underneath, we're pushing some light back up. That's also known as butterfly lighting, because it's like a butterfly. And actually, I always think of it because it's also known as clamshell lighting, because you got a light up there and the reflector down there. Could be another light, by the way, on a very low power or a reflector.
Are you still using 1/200 speed?
Yeah. Yeah, so 1/200, that's exactly, yeah, that's what it is. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so, and you know, I'm regulating the amount of light that I want coming from the lower side, from the bottom, by using the type of reflector. A whiteboard will reflect a little bit less than a silver reflector, for example. Yeah. So if I wanted more, I'll probably use a silver reflector. Changes the color of the light a little bit, but it also pushes more light back. So you know, you can play around with these things. But all of these decisions are important when you're putting a look together. That's how you would think as a portrait photographer. It's like, where are the shadows, where's the light, where are the catch lights. Okay, good example here. So if I zoom in, can't see what I'm doing. Right. If you look at the eyes here, we've got catch light on the top there. It's round. That's the shape of the beauty dish, obviously. I like it. It's pretty much in the right place. Cool. Awesome. All right, cool. Right, Dave.
Yo.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. I haven't seen you in like
It's been a while.
3.5 months or something, 4 months.
I think we did this about a year ago,
Yeah, we did.
about March.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's been a while.
it's been a while.
But we did go to Wales.
We did.
That was fun, wasn't it? Camping, Nick.
Yeah,
It's good, wasn't it?
yeah, it was awesome.
It was brilliant. Again, you. On my side of the tent, I was on like some beautiful grass. It was super soft. I don't know. He was on rocks. Well, yeah, he had a bed. Brilliant. Anyway, so okay, so Dave, you've got ukulele there.
Why?
I have no idea. That is the prop we've got. Okay, so what I want you to do is grab that ukulele. Yeah, exactly like that. Cool. So if you put your left hand on the stars, it doesn't actually matter where they're going to be honest. There'll be somebody looking at this going, "That's not a ukulele chord." Yeah. Anyway, so I want you to hold that like that. Okay, cool, awesome. Right, so now, cool. Okay, I'm just going to take a picture, and we're going to just talk about a few. Or give me some big eyes for a minute.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. There you go. Sleep mode. Beautiful. Okay, so here's the thing. When there's two things that happen. Well, first of all, when you have somebody wearing a hat, especially like a baseball cap or something like that, we're going to have we've got this brim coming over the top of the face, and that creates a lot of shadow. Our light's coming from above. The brim of the baseball cap is going to block that light, and we're always going to have a problem with shadows up here. So there's two solutions to that. Either you ask somebody to move, that's it, to go all hip hop, or you just move the brim up so you can get the light underneath, right? Or of course you get them to lift their head up so that the light can actually get under the brim. It's a pain in the neck, but sometimes hats look cool. I mean, there's many images in competitions that I've seen, where people had like fedoras or like cowboy hats or something like that. They're actually difficult to photograph. It's because it's difficult to get the light underneath. Cool. Okay. So, right, we'll do the same thing. Okay, you ready? Cool. Cool. All right, Dave. So same thing. What I want you to do is lean into me a little bit. That's it. Cool. Yeah. Lift your chin up just a touch. Okay, give me some really super big eyes. There you go. And boom. All right, that's right. Hey, kids. Yep. Okay, Dave, can you move your... Nothing is perfect, man. It's perfect. But what I want you to do now is, if you take your hat and move it sideways, so the brim is sideways.
Which way?
I think this way. Let's try this way.
Looks silly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's kind of the point here. I mean, All right. Okay, so if you move forwards for me. That's it. Cool. Yeah, absolutely perfect. Okay, great. Right, one more time. 3, 2. Big eyes. Excellent. Okay, cool. Sometimes people ask, like, why do you shoot this with the lights on and not in the dark? Well, it's actually easy for the autofocus. It's really simple as that. I don't like to shoot in a dark studio. Some people like that, and you can set up a modeling light in here, which basically just shines a little bit of light on the model. I don't like them very much. You use in the beginning. They're good to use because then you can see how the light falls and where the shadows are and all that kind of stuff. I just don't like them. I just like to have the lights on. It's easier to communicate. I can see what I'm doing. It's easy on the autofocus. Makes life easier. All right, okay. Dave, you ready? Okay, cool. So we're gonna do the same thing. Bring your face ever so slightly this way. That's it, cool. Now, big eyes and super awesome scream. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, silent scream. Here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Love it. Awesome. There you go. Another thing really quickly just to mention is, as you can see, I'm not shooting loads of pictures. I'm not doing that. I'm taking a shot, I'm looking at it, I'm analyzing it, I'm adjusting. So we're not actually ending up with hundreds of shots. All right. Okay, Dave, awesome. What we'll do is, I just want you to move your head slightly towards the camera. Yeah, absolutely. If you want.
Just because you want to film.
Okay.
No, what I'm going to do is sell it to these people.
Okay.
Maybe these people.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, cool. Just remember that mark there. Just make sure you don't come. Yeah, just don't come across that. Okay, bring the mic down just a little bit and angle it this way away from you. So this way, that way. Yeah, cool. A bit more. Yeah, so like this way. That's it. Yeah, cool. And bring it closer to you a little bit. What you end up with sometimes are body positions that are totally not natural. I don't really care whether they're natural. All I care about is what they look like in a photo opening. Cool. Okay, big eyes.
Are you done? Right.
Okay, cool. Big eyes. Okay, scream big eyes, like big expression.
Ready?
Yeah, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, move your head back just a little bit. That way, yeah, cool. And I'm just going to get that fluffy thing, the dead cat. I will show it. Yeah, that's it. Cool. Ready? Move it closer to your body. That's it. Got it. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, move your head ever slightly this way. Cool. Yeah. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, move your head ever slightly this way. Okay, bring the camera over that way just a tiny little bit. Okay, cool. Okay, ready? Yeah, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay.
My eyes were big enough.
Yeah, just come into the camera a little bit so you want to move forward. That's it. Okay, ready? And 3, 2, 1, go. Bring the fluffy thing back a little bit. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, get it? Right, 3, 2, 1, go. Move your head this way. That way. Yeah, that's it. Okay, now.
There's a polar bear behind you.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Okay, we'll do another few. Right, here we go.
Another few.
Yeah, another few.
Why not?
Right. Go ahead. All right, cool. Right, one more time. Again, yeah, that's it. Perfect. Bring closer to your body. That's it. Great. Okay, and ready for the silent scream. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, one more time. I'm just not going to shoot. That's not the thing. Right, here we go. Ready? Okay, one more time. One last time. One last
I don't know
time.
where it was now.
Just bring it really close to your body. I think that's going to work. Yeah, and then just want to angle it that way. Yeah, so that's cool. Okay, here we go. That's perfect. Hold it. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, move your head this way. Tilt your head that way towards me. Excellent. All right. Love it. Wicked. Okay, cool. All right. No. Okay, I think we've got some really good shots. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, cool. Now, what we're going to do is, I think it's 8:50. We're going to break for some coffee for a minute. We're going to just rejig it, and in the second half, I'm going to take you through the whole editing process.